The world outside often rushes, demanding your attention, your effort, and your control. Yet, within the deep current of your own being, there is always a place that remains still, clear, and utterly untouched. It is a vast, unmoving sanctuary that waits patiently for the surface ripples of thought and worry to simply calm down. True, profound peace is not something you must struggle to achieve. It is only something you must remember. Tonight, allow the burden of searching and striving to gently dissolve from your mind and your shoulders. Feel your body sink into the deepest quiet and permit your breath to simply flow, asking nothing of you. We are not beginning a search for an answer tonight, but rather a soft, gentle journey back to the stillness that exists before all questions ever form. Welcome to Lotus Whisper, the sanctuary where the timeless wisdom of Zen and the gentle flow of story meet the quiet depths of your sleep. Tonight, we begin an immersive journey into the great stillness, finding form in emptiness and peace in impermanence. We will explore how the things we are taught to hold most tightly, our self, our rigid plans, our need for certainties, are often the very things that obscure the natural, boundless peace of the universe. We will use the gentle, guiding light of the Buddha's timeless teachings and the profound, puzzling power of the Zen koan to slowly lead us toward a restful, wakeful presence. If these quiet truths and gentle narratives bring a deeper calm to your soul, and if you find yourself resting easier with the sound of this wisdom, please consider subscribing to the Lotus Whisper channel. In this simple act, you allow this peace to find you again, night after quiet night. Now, let the journey begin. The original face and the sound of silence. Let us move now from the soft stillness of the introduction into the deeper silence of our first contemplation. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a great, ancient forest. The moon is high, and the world has retreated into a profound, velvety dark. There is no urgency here, no timeline, no destination you must rush toward. There is only the quiet rhythm of your own breath, sinking into the vast, limitless night. Tonight, we begin with a question that is not meant to be answered with failure. Breathe deeply, and with each exhale, feel a layer of expectation float away. You are not your name. You are not your job. You are not the opinions others hold of you, nor are you the opinions you hold of yourself. If you removed every single label, every single story, every single memory you possess, what would remain? The Zen tradition says that what remains is not an empty void, but a boundless, brilliant clarity. That is the original face. It is the peace you seek, already perfectly present. The pursuit of this original face is often undertaken with great effort, with endless hours of sitting meditation. But tonight, we will approach it softly, through the gentle gateway of sound and silence. Imagine a high mountain temple, tucked away among cedars and moss-covered stones. The air is cool, carrying the faint, clean scent of incense and damp earth. Inside the hall, a Zen master sits, his posture utterly still, his eyes half closed, observing the world without judgment. A student approaches, bowing low, his mind full of turbulent questions, anxieties about the future, and regrets about the past. "Master," the student whispers, his voice thick with a lifetime of searching. "I have read the sutras, I have studied the koans, yet my mind remains a cage. How may I be free? How may I see the truth that existed before the world came into being?" The master smiles, a slow, deep ripple of calm that reaches only his eyes. He does not offer a quote from a book or a complex philosophical treatise. He simply says, with a voice like the softest wind chimes, "Go." and return to me when you have heard the sound of one hand clapping. This is one of the most famous and profound Zen koans, attributed to the master Hakuin Ikaku. It is an impossible request, is it not? You know the sound of two hands clapping, a sharp, clear, percussive report. It requires duality, two separate entities coming together. The sound is dependent on the opposition. But the master asks for the sound of one hand, the gentle friction between your two hands dissolve. Let the need for two things to create a noise vanish. Now, listen not with your ears, but with the quiet, vast awareness of your entire body. What is the sound that exists when there is no opposition? It is the sound of profound stillness. Feel the deep relaxation spreading through your body now, from your crown down to your feet. In this state of deep receptive rest, the effort to hear stops. The effort to think stops. The effort to control stops. And in that absolute cessation of striving, the sound of one hand naturally begins to resonate. It is the soft, subtle hum of the universe sustaining itself. It is the sound of the silence between heartbeats. It is the sound of the deep black earth turning slowly in space. It is the awareness that hears the birds singing outside, even if the birds are not singing right now. It is the awareness that knows the difference between the sound of two hands and the silence of one. The koan is a call to radical integration. The sound of two hands is the world of phenomena. The sound of traffic, the noise of arguments, the clutter of thoughts. The sound of one hand is the pure essence, the boundless peace, the original face. When the master asks the student to find the sound of one hand, he is telling him, stop looking externally for the truth. Stop listening to the world of opposites. Listen to the truth that resides in the gap, in the pure, quiet presence that precedes all noise. Go deeper now into the stillness. Imagine that the master's words have become a physical object, a smooth, cool, perfectly spherical stone in the center of your consciousness. You hold it, turning it slowly, feeling its weight and texture. The stone is the question. What is the sound of one hand clapping? Do not try to define it. Do not try to analyze it. Just hold the stone and allow your realization. It is not a loud sound. It is not an exciting sound. It is a profoundly peaceful sound. It is the deep, quiet knowing that everything is exactly as it should be. It is the knowledge that the original face, the unbounded peace, has been here all along, obscured only by the noise of two hands, the internal noise of struggle, and the external noise of the world. Sink further into this profound listening. Feel the subtle energy of your body resting. This moment of peace is the sound of one hand. The pure, unburdened presence of your attention is your original face. Tonight, you do not need to rush to enlightenment. You do not need to solve the impossible puzzle. You only need to rest in the question, allowing the stillness to seep into your bones. The stillness is the answer. The stillness is the sound. The stillness is the face you were born to wear. Let your hands unclasp. Let your mouth soften. Let your eyes remain gently closed. There is nothing left to do now but to simply be with the profound, resonant silence. The true work of Zen is the practice of non-doing. The true teaching is the silence between the words. The ultimate truth is the deep, quiet knowledge that you are already whole. Rest now in the sound of one hand. The river of impermanence, anicca. Allow your attention to drift away from the mountain temple and the quiet conundrum of the original face. We now move our gaze down the slope, through the rustling bamboo grove, until we arrive at the soft, sandy bank of a river. This river is not just a body of water. It is the oldest, truest teacher of the universe. It is the living, flowing embodiment of the second great truth we contemplate tonight, impermanence, or anicca. Breathe deeply and let the gentle sound of the water, a constant rhythmic murmur, fill the quiet chambers of your awareness. The water you see flowing past your feet right now is utterly unique. It has never flowed this way before, and in a single moment it will be gone, replaced by water from a few inches behind it. You cannot step into the same river twice, as the ancient philosopher Heraclitus noted. But the Buddhist teaching takes entirely on flux. We want the water to stop so we can study it, own it, and control it. But the Buddha taught that this craving for stability, this desire for things to remain fixed, is the very root of all suffering. It is like trying to bottle the river. The moment you cap the bottle, the water is no longer a living river. It is a stagnant memory of one. Let us contemplate the texture of anicca in your own life. Think about the feeling of your body right now. It is resting deeply, perhaps sinking into the mattress or the cushion. But even in this deepest stillness, your body is a furious river of change. Cells are being born and dying. The air is moving in and out of your lungs. The blood is circulating through pathways that are slightly different than they were a minute ago. The body is not a static sculpture. It is a process, a flowing event. When we resist this, when we try to freeze our appearance, our age, or our abilities, we create internal tension, a dam against the natural current. Now, turn your attention to your emotional landscape. Emotions are perhaps the quickest waters of the river. A feeling of joy, sharp and bright like a splash of sunlight on the surface, passes quickly. A feeling of anxiety, murky and heavy like a slow eddy, also passes. Yet when we feel joy, we desperately try to cling to it, extending it past its natural life. And when we feel sorrow or fear, we are convinced that this state is a fixed, solid reality that will define us forever. We forget that the essence of all emotion is its temporariness. The river does not hold on to a single ripple. Imagine the sheer exhaustion of trying to hold back the river. That is the exhaustion of chronic anxiety, the mental muscle that is constantly tensing, constantly trying to fix the unfixable. Tonight, you are invited to untie that muscle. As you lie here, resting, allow the river of your life to flow. Do not grab at the passing currents of thought. Do not try to secure the stability of the willow is in its flexibility, not its rigidity. This is the great teaching of anicca. Stability is found in radical acceptance of instability. The peace is in the bending. Let us weave this teaching into a deeper narrative, following the life cycle of a single ancient stone on the riverbank. This stone has been there for centuries, perhaps millennia. When the river is low and the day is warm, the stone is dry and feels the sun's heat. It feels solid, fixed, immovable. It might begin to think, I am here forever. I am the permanent one. But then the rains come, heavy and relentless. The river swells, the current rises, and the water flows not just around the stone, but over it, submerging it entirely. The water is cold, rushing, and powerful. The stone, now underwater, is silent and dark. The sharp edges it had centuries ago are slowly, incrementally worn away by the patient friction of the sand and water. It does not feel the sun now. It only feels the pressure of the current. If the stone had a mind like ours, it might panic. I am losing myself. I am changing. I am being worn down. I must fight this water. But the stone has no resistance. It simply rests in the water. It accepts the subtle, quiet reshaping of its form, and when the rains stop and the river recedes, the stone is still there, perhaps slightly smaller, rounder and smoother, more beautiful and more perfectly integrated into its environment. The water of your life is constantly reshaping you. Every heartbreak, every success, every small moment of fear or gratitude is a grain of sand polishing the surface of your being. If you resist the water, you create a kind of rough, internal struggle. You refuse to be polished. You cling to the sharp edges of the self you think you are supposed to be. But if you practice the wisdom of the stone, the profound passivity of pure presence, you simply allow the current to do its work. You trust the process of flowing and changing. You find that the essence of the stone, its solid existence, its connection to the earth, is never threatened by the river. Only the form is altered. This is the core insight. Form fades, but essence remains. The essence is fatigue. And then, allow yourself to sink deeper into the stillness of the riverbed. In the tradition of Zen, the masters do not teach you how to achieve a perfect life, but how to perfectly inhabit the life you already have, exactly as it is flowing right now. They ask you to embrace the flow. When the sun shines brilliantly on the water, you simply watch the light dance. When the river is choked with debris, you simply watch the debris pass. When the banks are quiet, you rest. When the current is strong, you bend. There is no permanent you that can be hurt by the changes, because you are the entire flowing interconnected event. You are the water, the bank, the sky reflected on the surface, and the patient waiting silence of the deep channel. Let the knowledge of anicca bring you a deep, liberating sense of rest tonight. You are free from the impossible task of stopping time. You are free from the exhausting duty of preserving the past. You are free to simply float, held and supported by the boundless current of life itself. The peace you seek is not in a fixed location. It is in the movement, in the quiet, absolute acceptance of what is. Let the current carry you now into deeper rest. Allow the subtle murmur of the river of impermanence to be the soothing lullaby that finally quietens the striving mind. There is nowhere else to go. There is nothing else to do. There is only the flow. The illusion of self. Anatta. We have rested in the stillness of the original face and allowed ourselves to flow with the great river of impermanence. Now we arrive at the river's confluence, a quiet, deep pool of contemplation where we encounter the most challenging truth of all, non-self, or anatta. Breathe in deeply, drawing the cool, fresh air deep into your lungs. As you exhale, let go of the rigid, heavy feeling of being a fixed, singular entity. The world trains us relentlessly to build up a concept of self. From the moment we are given a name, we begin gathering evidence for I, my history, my preferences, fuel, and the fire ceases. Yet the heat and the light are simply absorbed back into the world. The fire is a process, not a solid thing. The Buddhist tradition breaks the self down into 5 bundles, or skandhas, to show this process clearly. Imagine these 5 bundles are the components that create the experience of you, much like ingredients that create the experience of a meal. Form, rupa, your body. We have already seen that this is a river of continuous change. Cells dying and regenerating. Feelings, vedana, simple sensations, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. These are fleeting, like wind across a lake. Perceptions, samjna, the way you recognize things, labeling what you see, hear, or smell. These are conditioned by memory and culture, constantly shifting. Mental formations, samskara, your habits, intentions, beliefs and opinions, the deeply grooved patterns of your mind. These change slowly, but they change nonetheless. Consciousness, vijnana, the pure awareness that receives and registers the other 4 bundles. It is the light that illuminates everything, but it is not the things it illuminates. When you look closely for a permanent self, you only find these 5 bundles of change, continuously interacting. The I is merely the name we give to the temporary constellation of these 5 processes working together. To illustrate this profound point, let us turn to an ancient dialogue from the text, The Questions of King Milinda. Imagine King Milinda, a powerful and logical ruler, is sitting in his opulent court, deeply troubled by the Buddhist idea of non-self. He summons the venerable monk, Nagasena, who is known for his clarity and wisdom. The king begins, sharply, "Venerable Nagasena, when you say there is no permanent self, who is it that receives the robes and food from my people? Who is it that practices the Dharma? And who is it that will achieve nirvana?" Nagasena waits calmly for the king to finish. Then he asks the king, "Your Majesty, you have traveled here to see me. How did you arrive?" "I arrived in my..." Is the fixed, solid chariot to be found? It is merely a name, a label, a convention of language that we apply to a collection of temporary parts arranged in a particular way. Do you agree? The king is silent. He must agree. Logically, the chariot is a concept that dissolves upon close inspection of its individual parts. And so it is with you, Your Majesty, Nagasena concludes, his tone full of deep compassion. When you speak of Milinda, where is the solid, permanent Milinda to be found? Is it the body? No, for the body changes every day. Is it the feelings? No, for the feelings come and go like guests. Is it the thoughts? No, for they are like clouds passing across the sky. The self, the I, is merely a name, a convention we give to the temporary collection of the 5 skandhas, the form, the feelings, the perceptions, the mental formations, and the consciousness, all working together, flowing and changing, just like the components of the chariot. The king had been searching for something solid inside himself, an essence he could grab and hold on to. But Nagasena showed him that the self is an exquisite dance, a dynamic process. The peace is not in finding a permanent driver for the chariot. The peace is in accepting that the entire journey, the flowing parts, the movement, the name given to the vehicle, is the reality. Let this understanding sink into your body. This truth of anatta is the most profound invitation to rest. When we believe in a solid, fixed self, we live in constant defense. We feel personally attacked by criticism. We feel personally shattered by loss. We feel personally responsible for every failure. This solid self is a heavy burden, a tense knot in the center of your chest. But when you realize the self is like the chariot, a collection of flowing parts, you can finally release the need to defend it so fiercely. A thought of inadequacy arises. I am not good enough. Who is the I that is speaking? It is a fleeting mental formation, samskara, an old habitual thought pattern riding on a moment of feeling, vedana. It is not the solid truth of your being. It is just one component of the chariot, momentarily permanence. You are a vast, dynamic process. You are the continuous, perfect awareness that is watching the chariot move. The ultimate peace is found when the need to define, control, and defend the self finally falls away. What is left is not emptiness, but boundless presence, the pure, unconditioned capacity to know and to be. This is the truth of your original face, flowing eternally in the river of impermanence, unburdened by the heavy crystal of a fixed self. Rest now in the deep knowledge that the self is a beautiful, constantly renewed process. You are lighter, freer, and perfectly complete in your very incompleteness. The koan of the everyday: chop wood, carry water. Let us now move from the realm of deep philosophical inquiry back to the simple, tangible world, the world of daily rhythm and routine. Having contemplated the vastness of the original face, the flow of impermanence, and the lightness of non-self, we arrive at the most practical yet most profound Zen teaching. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. This phrase is perhaps the gentlest door into the heart of Zen. It is a soft whisper that cuts through the noise of spiritual seeking, career striving, and personal improvement. It tells us that the sacred is not separate from the ordinary. Imagine a simple, secluded monastery tucked deep in a valley. The morning mist still clings to the roof tiles. You can hear the distant, rhythmic thunk of an axe striking wood, followed by the soft, rushing sound of water being poured from a well bucket into a stone cistern. Before the student begins their path, they believe that spiritual enlightenment is a dramatic, blinding flash of insight that will lift them entirely out of the mundane world. They imagine a life filled with ecstatic visions, profound philosophical debates, and freedom from chores. So, they sit for hours, strain their minds, and try to force a breakthrough. They chop wood and carry water with a distracted mind, viewing these chores as obstacles standing between them and the real work of awakening. For them, chopping wood is just a means. Walk out, pick up the axe, and chop wood. They pick up the buckets, and they carry water. The actions are identical. The world is not changed, but the relationship to the action has undergone a complete, fundamental shift. Let us sink into the texture of this post-enlightenment experience. Imagine the feel of the axe handle now, heavy and worn smooth by many hands. The master does not swing the axe with the mind burdened by thought. There is no plan in the master's mind about the future fire, or worry about whether the stack will be tall enough, or judgment about the quality of the wood. There is only the presence of the act. The master is not chopping wood. The master is the chopping. The axe, the arm, the breath, the log, and the master's awareness are not separate. They flow together as one seamless event. The rhythm of the swing is dictated by the breath, and the breath is synchronized with the deep silence of the heart. The focus is total, but it is not strained. It is a relaxed, pervasive attention. When the blade strikes the wood, the master hears not just the sound, but the entire, complete truth of that moment. The texture of the wood splitting, the clean, sharp scent of the newly exposed fiber, the subtle strain in the muscle. This is the original face, engaging with the world of form. And then, the master walks to the well to carry water. Feel the cool, rough hemp rope sliding between the master's fingers. Hear the clank as the bucket hits the cold, dark water deep in the well shaft. Feel the weight as the bucket fills, heavy and undeniable, demanding balance and presence. The master is not thinking, "I must carry this water without spilling it," which would be the mind of striving. Nor are they thinking, "This is just a chore," which would be the mind of distraction. The master is simply carrying water. The water itself becomes the teacher. Its weight teaches humility and focus. Its stillness in the bucket teaches stillness of mind. Meeting. When you are driving, are you truly driving, or are you reliving yesterday's conversation? When you are simply resting, are you truly resting, or are you calculating the time until morning? The Zen invitation is to become the action itself. Tonight, let us practice chopping wood and carrying water with your rest. The task is simple: to rest. Let go of the results of rest. The idea that you must fall asleep quickly or that you must wake up refreshed. These are the burdens of striving. Instead, sink into the process of resting. Feel the sheets around your body, their texture, their weight. This is your form, rupa. Acknowledge the sensations of the body, the subtle ache in the shoulder, the warmth in the feet. These are your feelings, the dana. Listen to the sounds in the room, the distant hum, the soft silence, and simply observe the mind labeling them. These are your perceptions, samnana. And then, return to the simplest, most fundamental action, the breath. The breath is your perpetual personal act of carrying water. It comes in and it goes out. It is life, flowing. When you breathe in, be only the inhale. Feel the air moving, the chest rising. When you breathe out, be only the exhale. Feel the body sinking, the tension dissolving. Do not try to control the breath as if you are the one doing the work. You are not. The breath is simply flowing through you. Let your attention ride the breath like a feather on a gentle current. If a thought arises, a worry, a memory, a plan, do not fight it. That would be like fighting the weight of the water bucket. Instead, simply acknowledge the thought, gently set it down, and return to the primary task, carrying the breath. Inhale, exhale. Chop wood, carry water. In this deep, continuous return to the simplicity of the present moment, all the great truths coalesce. The breath is flowing, thus illustrating impermanence. The Zen tradition, the koan. A koan is not merely a clever riddle. It is a spiritual stick, a gentle but insistent tool designed to crack open the conceptual mind and reveal the vast, open space of pure awareness. The most famous collection of these paradoxical questions is the Wumengguan, or Mumonkan, which translates directly as the Gateless Gate. Think of this title as a profound map. To enter the peace of awakening, you must pass through a gate. But the gate itself is not a physical structure. It is the moment where your rational mind finally gives up the struggle to enter. The gate is gateless. Breathe softly now. allowing the concept of the impossible to settle in your consciousness. The koan is designed to show you that the answers you seek do not lie in more thinking, but in the cessation of thinking. The key to the gate is simply dropping the key. Tonight, we step into the very first, and perhaps most famous, door of the gateless gate, Zhao Zhou's dog, or simply, Mu. Imagine the scene. A small, simple Zen monastery in the countryside of China. The air is still, carrying the scent of pine and old paper. The venerable Master Zhao Zhou, a deeply revered teacher known for his cutting clarity, is sitting calmly. A sincere, earnest young monk approaches him, his mind heavy with the weight of philosophical study and spiritual ambition. The monk bows low, and with a voice full of urgency, asks the question that defines the very core of his faith. Does a dog have the Buddha nature, or not? This question, innocent as it sounds, is the ultimate spiritual checkmate. According to Buddhist doctrine, all sentient beings, from the smallest insect to the greatest sage, possess the Buddha nature, the inherent, pure potential for enlightenment. The answer, logically, must be yes. It is a fundamental truth of the lineage. If the master says yes, the monk will simply note it in his mind as another piece of information, another belief to carry, another concept to...
Is not giving a philosophical answer about canine spirituality. He is delivering a sudden, non-conceptual punch that is meant to stop the endless chain of thinking. He is saying, stop the yes-no game. Stop trying to categorize reality. Stop your mental habits. Stop comparing this moment to past knowledge. Stop the intellectual search. The truth is not found in the answer you already know. MU is meant to be a sound that occupies the whole of your mind. A single, vast, empty sound that leaves no room for anything else. It is the sound of one hand clapping, directed squarely at the mind's incessant need to grasp. For the student working on this koan, the instruction is simple. Become MU. This is not a concept to be analyzed. You are not meant to think, what does MU mean? You are meant to let the word become a living, breathing reality in your consciousness. Imagine MU as a vast, bottomless chasm that opens in front of your thoughts. Every time a thought of worry, a memory, a plan, or a judgment tries to step forward, it encounters MU and instantly falls away into silence. Sink into your resting position now. Allow your breath to become slow and deep. We will practice simply resting in the sound of MU. When your mind begins to stir, when it starts to label the stillness as sleep or not sleep, gently bring your attention back to the single, resonant sound, MU. Let the sound have no shape. Let it have no color. Let it have no definition. It is pure emptiness, pure potential, the gateless gate through which you must pass. The struggle with the koan is the struggle of the ego. The ego desperately wants to know. It wants to understand. It wants to solve the puzzle so it can put it on the shelf and move to the next. But the koan defeats the ego's methods entirely. You cannot logically solve MU. The only way to pass the gate is to merge with the MU itself, to dissolve the I that is asking the question, and
of the universe returning to its unconditioned state. As you fall deeper into this state of rest, let the logic of the world fade. The world of logic is the world of two hands clapping, of duality, of yes and no. Tonight, you are dwelling in the absolute non-duality of Mu. The true understanding of the koan comes not through the mind, but through the deep, silent wisdom of the body and the heart. It is a deep, unshakable knowing that requires no words, no proof, and no validation. It is the sound of your original face, now fully present. Rest now, held securely in the vast, empty resonance of the great stillness. Mu. The empty boat. Non-contention and acceptance. Having wrestled with the profound silence of Mu, we turn now to a story that illuminates the practical, social dimension of non-self, anatta, the deep, liberating peace that comes from non-contention and radical acceptance. Imagine a quiet, misty lake nestled between high peaks. The air is so still that the surface of the water perfectly mirrors the mountains and the sky, creating a world of profound, fragile symmetry. You are sitting in a small, wooden boat, resting in the absolute center of this lake. You have pushed off from the shore, letting go of the moorings of your daily life, and now you are simply drifting. This boat is your mind, and you are the awareness observing it. As you drift, you enter a state of deep, quiet contemplation. The silence is profound. Suddenly, from out of the thick morning mist, another boat appears, moving swiftly toward you. It approaches too fast, and with a sudden, sharp thump, it strikes your boat. The impact jolts you, spilling a cup of tea you had set on the bench and shaking you from your deep reverie. Instantly, a strong reaction flares up within you. It is the primitive, defensive response of the ego: anger. Your body tenses, your heart quickens. The story begins to rush through your mind. How dare they? How careless? How disrespectful? They have ruined my quiet. They have struck my boat. Peace of the lake returns. You mend what is broken, wipe up the spilled water, and continue your rest. This is the great Zen parable of the empty boat. It is a profound, subtle lesson on the nature of ego and conflict. The Zen master Zhuangzi, who first told a version of this story, essentially asks, why do you only become angry when you see a person, but not when you see an empty boat? The answer is simple. We only become angry because we project a self onto the event. We assume the other party possesses a fixed, malicious, or careless intent. We project a solid, permanent self into the other boat, a self that chose to strike us, a self that deliberately caused harm. We then respond, not to the physical event of the collision, which is merely a minor thump, but to the story of intention we have invented. The emptiness of the other boat forces us to realize that the source of our suffering was never the collision itself. The collision was a simple, impermanent fact of the physical world. The suffering was the self-generated resistance and the self-projected anger that immediately sprang up in our own mind. Now, let us bring this profound image into the texture of your everyday life. Consider a moment of conflict from your past week, or a relationship that causes you friction. When someone speaks a harsh word, or fails to meet an expectation, or cuts you off in traffic, we instantly populate their internal boat with a full crew of negative intentions. They meant to insult me. They are selfish. They don't respect me. We react to the story of their self, not to the empty event. The wisdom of the empty boat invites you to practice this deep, liberating insight.
Treat every perceived offense as if it came from an empty boat. When a harsh word is spoken, imagine the word floating across the water. It is merely a sound wave, generated by a mind that is momentarily uncontrolled, perhaps driven by exhaustion, fear, or a habit of thought. Is the person who spoke that word a solid, permanent entity of malice? No. They are a collection of skandhas, form, feelings, perceptions, all flowing and changing, just like
The more you realize that even your own mind is an empty boat, your worries, your self-criticisms, your racing thoughts, these also bump and jostle you. But who is driving that boat? No one. They are simply the conditioned currents of memory and habit flowing past. When a sharp critical thought about yourself arises, I should have done that differently, or I am not good enough, treat the source of that thought as an empty boat. Do not argue with it. Do not fight it. Do not internalize the accusation. Simply observe the thought drift past and return to the stillness of the lake. The ultimate practice of acceptance is this: accept the emptiness of the other and accept the emptiness of the self. This non-resistance to the world and to your own thoughts is the core of true safety. Control is an illusion that brings anxiety. Acceptance of the flow is the stability that brings rest. Allow the vast, quiet surface of the lake to enter your mind. Let all the passing events, the sounds, the sensations, the thoughts simply float by, unsteered, unblamed, and utterly empty of a permanent core. You are the stillness beneath the surface, perfectly untouched by the passing boats of the world. Rest now in the deep, liberating peace of the empty boat. The great compassion and the path of service. We now turn our attention from the inner stillness to the outer world, moving from the quiet solitude of the individual seeker to the vast, boundless connection of all beings. The ultimate expression of the peace we seek is found not in isolation, but in the practice of great compassion, or karuna, and its gentle sibling, loving kindness, or metta. Breathe in deeply, and as you exhale, feel your awareness expand, moving beyond the boundaries of your own skin and your own immediate concerns. For too long, the self has been the central focus. How turbulent world of suffering until all beings are free. It is the ultimate acceptance of the interconnected flow, anicca. Imagine yourself in a vast, dark forest. You have found a single, powerful lantern, the light of your own realization. Compassion is the act of immediately turning that light outward, not just illuminating your own path, but making a firm commitment to stand by the path until everyone else has found their way out of the trees. This path of service is not a path of strain or martyrdom. It is the path of deep, quiet relief. Why does compassion bring rest? Because it releases us from the impossible pressure of fixing only ourselves. When you realize that your struggle is not a unique personal flaw, but a universal, shared condition, the inevitable consequence of impermanence and clinging, the heavy weight of self-judgment immediately lifts. The practice of metta, loving kindness, is often taught as a gradual expansion of warm, gentle wishing.
We begin by directing kindness toward ourselves, then toward loved ones, then toward neutral people, and finally, toward those we find difficult. As you rest tonight, let us practice this expansion. First, turn the gentle light of kindness onto yourself. Do not judge your anxieties or your failures. Simply acknowledge them with the same soft, non-judgmental presence you would offer to a cherished friend. Gently whisper this intention into the quiet of your mind. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I be peaceful. May I be free from suffering. Feel the relief in the simple permission to be human, to be imperfect, to be subject to the flowing currents of life. Now, without breaking the rhythm of your peaceful breath, let that circle of warmth gently widen to include those you love, your family, your closest friends. See their faces in your mind's eye, not as fixed portraits, but as flowing rivers of experience. Wish them the same freedom. May they be safe. May they be healthy. May they be peaceful. May they be free from suffering. Feel the quiet, soft joy of this selfless wishing.
Is not depressing. It is profoundly grounding. It connects you to the deep, shared humanity that underlies all surface differences. The great master Dogen said, "To study the Buddha way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self." The path of compassion is precisely this process of forgetting the small, burdensome, isolated self by merging its welfare into the vast, shared welfare of all things. When you act from compassion, when you listen deeply to a friend, when you offer patience to a difficult colleague, when you give money or time without seeking recognition, you are not depleting your energy. You are plugging directly into the limitless, quiet energy of the universe. It is the most restful act of all, because it is an act of truth. It aligns your small, temporary form with the vast, permanent truth of interconnectedness. Rest now, with your heart wide open. Let go of the need to be the hero or the victim of your own story. You are simply a flowing current in a boundless ocean of shared life. The deepest peace is found not when the struggle ends for you, but when you commit to seeing the struggle gently and clearly for all. Let the quiet, continuous pulse of your own heart become the soft, rhythmic chanting of "May all beings be peaceful." Sink into that boundless wish and find your deepest rest. The mandala principle, pattern in chaos. We have explored the flowing river of impermanence and the shared peace of compassion. Now, we arrive at a powerful visual contemplation that brings these two truths together. The mandala principle, or finding pattern in chaos. Imagine for a moment the high, clear air of a Tibetan monastery. A group of monks has spent many days, perhaps weeks, in profound concentration. Their work is an act of spiritual genius, the creation of a sand mandala. A mandala is a circular map of the cosmos, a two-dimensional palace built entirely of millions of grains of colored sand. The process is one of agonizing precision. Each monk, using a thin metal funnel, painstakingly taps the sand, grain by grain, to form impossibly intricate geometric patterns, spirals. Lotus mandala is complete after it has been admired and consecrated, and before the monk's concentration has cooled. They do not preserve it. They do the opposite. With a simple, solemn ceremony, one of the monks takes a soft brush and, with a swift, quiet stroke, begins to sweep the millions of grains of sand into a single pile. The perfect form, the result of weeks of total discipline.
is reduced to a formless, colorful mound in mere minutes. It becomes a swirl of beautiful chaos. Take a moment to feel the subtle shock of this act. The ego, the self that craves permanence, recoils. It cries, waste, loss. Why go to all that effort just to destroy it? This radical act is the ultimate lesson in impermanence, anicca, and non-attachment. The monks know that the true value of the mandala was never the finished form itself. The value was in the process, the unwavering concentration, the clarity of intention, the discipline of creation, the shared compassion of the effort. Once the process is complete, the form has served its purpose. To cling to the beautiful form would be to miss the lesson. By deliberately sweeping the sand away, the monks are training their minds to accept the great, quiet truth that form fades, but the wisdom gained from the form remains. The peace they seek is not in the finished object, but in the non-resistant awareness that can create perfection and then witness its dissolution without sorrow or clinging. They realize that the ultimate beauty is not in the still image, but in the continuous cycle of building and releasing. The peace is in the flow. Let us bring this principle to your inner world tonight. Your life, your day, your mind, it is a constantly shifting, messy mandala of experience. Your plans are mandalas. You create them with great care, focusing on the details of the future. But then, the wind of chance blows, and the neat pattern of your schedule is swept into a pile of chaotic changes. Do you panic? Or do you remember the monks? The wisdom you gained in the planning is yours forever. Reverence. They carry it to a flowing river and pour it in, returning the grains to the source. The river of impermanence carries the sand away, dispersing the form back into the flow. This final act symbolizes the returning of all effort, all concentration, and all form back to the boundless, unconditioned whole. It is a gesture of ultimate acceptance and non-attachment. As you lie here, resting, feel your own life's temporary, beautiful form. Feel the body, the mind, the emotions, all created and sustained by immense, continuous effort. And then, gently, release the need to hold on to it all so tightly. Know that the pattern of your life, the underlying truth, the wisdom, the love, is not lost when the form changes. The pattern is impressed upon your deep awareness, your original face, which remains untouched. Let the worries of your mind, the chaotic thoughts that seem to break the beautiful stillness of your rest, be like the grains of sand. Watch them fall into a pile, and then, gently, with the quiet brush of your attention, release them to the flowing current of your breath. There is deep peace in this rhythmic cycle of creation and dissolution. Build and rest. Flow and empty. Build and rest. You are not the sand. You are the peaceful, clear awareness that allows the beautiful temporary pattern to arise and dissolve again and again. Sink into that unmoving center now. The mind as a vast sky, letting thoughts pass. We have journeyed through the great truths and the profound actions of Zen. Now, for this part of our journey, we return to the most intimate landscape of all, the deep, quiet architecture of your own mind. We will use a gentle, ancient metaphor to guide us, the mind as a vast sky. Settle deeper into your rest. Feel the weight of your body anchoring you firmly to the present moment. Let the rhythm of your breath be the quiet, continuous pulse of your awareness. In the tradition of meditation, the mind is often compared to a turbulent sea or a crowded marketplace. But when we look with deep, non-judgmental clarity, we realize the relationship to the clouds. The sky never fights the clouds. The sky never judges the clouds, calling some good and others bad. The sky never tries to grasp the wispy clouds of joy, nor does it try to push away the heavy clouds of sorrow. The sky never says, "I hate this storm cloud. It is ruining my perfect blue." The sky simply allows them all to pass. The clouds are born from the conditions of the atmosphere. They exist for a time in their flowing, ever-changing form, and then, due to the wind of anicca, they dissolve back into the space from which they arose. The entire time, the sky remains utterly unchanged. It is the unmoving background, the vast container, the pure capacity for presence. It is never wounded by the storm. It is never cluttered by the traffic. This is the profound realization that brings deep peace. You are the sky, not the weather. The source of our modern anxiety is the fundamental mistake of identifying with the weather. We believe, I am this anxious thought. I am this regretful feeling. I am this ambitious plan. When we identify with the clouds, we feel turbulent, fragile, and utterly dependent on the external conditions. When the worry cloud is dark, we feel dark. When the joy cloud is bright, we desperately cling to it, terrified of its passing. Tonight, you are invited to gently practice this shift in perspective. You are not trying to stop the clouds from forming. That is an exhausting, impossible task, like trying to stop the wind. The practice is much simpler. Do not step into the clouds. As you rest, notice the thoughts that are currently drifting through your mind. Do not engage with them. Do not follow their stories. Do not judge their content. When a thought of worry appears, acknowledge it softly. Ah, a worry cloud. I see you. And then, immediately return your attention to the vast, quiet space behind the thought. Feel the pure awareness, the stillness that is watching the thought float by. Let your focus rest on the space of the sky. The space is always there, always open, always peaceful. This practice is the essence of Zen. Tossed by the waves, you are the ocean itself, vast and deep. You are the sky, embracing all weather without condition. The great stillness is not the absence of clouds. The great stillness is the perfect, unmoving capacity of the sky to hold all the movement, all the chaos, and all the beauty without ever losing its fundamental nature. Let your rest be a profound act of acceptance. Accept the stillness and accept the movement. Accept the quiet and accept the noise. You are the space in which all things are welcome to arise and pass away. Sink deeper now into the boundless blue of your own mind. Let the thoughts drift higher and higher until they become small, distant specks. And finally, let them dissolve entirely into the vast, clear freedom of the night sky. You are safe. You are stable. You are the stillness itself. The final step, the great stillness. We have walked the long, quiet path. We started by seeking the original face in the sound of silence. We flowed with the great river of impermanence. We released the heavy burden of the solid self by contemplating the empty boat. We found the sacred in the mundane with chop wood, carry water. We passed through the gateless gate of Mu, embraced the vast circle of compassion, and understood the nature of creation and dissolution through the mandala principle. Finally, we saw the mind as the vast sky, allowing all thought and weather to simply pass. Now we come to the culmination of the journey, the great stillness. In the Zen tradition, the goal is often called nirvana,
But nirvana is not a distant heaven, nor is it a place of total annihilation. It is simply the extinguishing of the fires of greed, hatred, and delusion. It is a quality of mind that is utterly free, boundless, and at rest. It is the perfect, unconditioned stillness that remains when all striving finally collapses. Imagine yourself now walking on a soft, moss-covered path that leads back to the very first mountain temple we visited. The journey has stripped away the urgency, the anxiety, and the intellectual clutter. You are lighter now. The burden of seeking has dissolved. As you arrive at the temple gate and stable, you do not try to empty your mind. You simply allow your mind to be its natural vast self, the boundless, welcoming sky. In this final deep moment of rest, let go of the idea that you need a final dramatic realization. The truth is much gentler, much closer. The realization is the return to the ordinary, seen with non-ordinary clarity. The great stillness is not a heroic achievement. It is the simple, complete acceptance of what is flowing right now. Accept the body, the warmth, the pressure, the subtle discomfort. It is the form, the mandala that will soon dissolve. Let it be as it is. Accept the breath, the quiet, continuous rhythm of impermanence. Let it flow without your effort. Accept the silence, the vast, unmoving sky that holds all things. Let your awareness settle into this boundless space. This stillness is your ultimate foundation. When the world demands your attention, you return to the stillness. When your heart is broken, you return to the stillness. When the ego tries to grasp or resist, you return to the stillness. The great stillness is the quiet assurance that beneath all the noise, beneath all the change, beneath all the illusions of the self, you are fundamentally whole, completely safe, and deeply at peace. There is no fear in this stillness, because fear is an attachment to a future outcome. There is no regret, because regret is an attachment to a past form. Here, in the unmoving center, there is only the perfect, complete presence of now. Let your awareness melt now into the deepest quiet of the night. Release the last sliver of control, the final thread of striving. You have arrived, not at a destination, but at your own unconditioned nature. May the profound quiet of this great stillness carry you into the deepest, most restorative rest. May you wake up tomorrow as the vast sky, ready to gently witness the weather of